All right, let's spice things up a bit today and dive deep into female pleasure,
Yeah.
specifically cunnilingus.
Okay.
And our guide for this deep dive is She Comes First by Ian Kerner.
Oh, nice.
So the goal here is to equip you with the knowledge you need
Right.
to create these incredibly fulfilling experiences for both partners.
Yeah.
Um,
I really love how Kerner reframes cunnilingus.
oh, yeah.
Like he argues that it's not just foreplay, it's
Yeah.
an essential act of intimacy in and of itself.
He even calls it the way of the tongue,
I love that.
which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And really challenges the whole idea of it being just a quick warm-up.
Oh, yeah.
He really wants us to think of it as core play.
Totally. And there's data to back that up.
Oh, really?
He cites studies that show women in happy marriages find cunnilingus
Okay.
significantly more satisfying than intercourse.
Oh, wow.
82% satisfaction versus 68%.
Wow, that's a compelling statistic.
It is a big difference.
It really highlights how important it is to understand the clitoris,
Yeah.
which he calls the powerhouse of pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And I was amazed to learn it actually has twice as many nerve endings as the penis.
It's crazy, over 8,000 to be exact.
Wow, okay.
But what's often overlooked is the complexity of the clitoris.
Oh, really?
It's not just this little button.
Right.
It's a whole network of nerves and tissue,
Yeah.
both inside and outside the body.
It was like an entire landscape to be discovered,
It is.
not just one spot to focus on.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so could you walk us through some of those key areas?
Sure, absolutely. So the glands, or the head of the clitoris, is probably the most well-known.
Right.
But then you have the shaft.
Uh-huh.
You have the hood, which protects the glands.
Well.
And even these kruras, which are like the legs of the clitoris,
Oh, wow.
that extend internally.
So it's way more intricate than most people realize.
Much more so.
Yeah, I know Kerner really emphasizes that understanding this anatomy is crucial to creating a truly satisfying experience.
Absolutely. And to guide that process, he introduces something called the play process,
Okay.
which is this 3-act structure,
Okay.
moving from foreplay to core play, and then to more play.
Okay, so let's talk about what happens during those stages.
Sure.
What does Kerner say about the physical and emotional changes a woman goes through?
So foreplay is all about setting the stage,
Okay.
creating that anticipation and connection. Then during core play, the focus shifts to the clitoris
Right.
and guiding her through those various stages of arousal.
Yeah.
And finally, more play is about making sure that the pleasure lingers
Uh-huh.
even after orgasm
Mm.
and deepening that intimacy.
He makes it sound like this carefully choreographed dance
Yeah.
with each step building towards crescendo.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And Kerner really emphasizes pacing and building that anticipation throughout.
Yeah, and he even gets into like the hormonal changes that are
Yeah.
happening, like the release of oxytocin.
The cuddle hormone.
Yeah, which is a big part of why cunnilingus can be so bonding.
It is.
Yeah.
Very much so. It really is. Earlier we were talking about the anatomy of the clitoris,
Right.
and Kerner really encourages men to think of it as this complex network,
Yeah.
not just one little button.
Right.
And speaking of buttons,
Yeah.
what about that infamous G-spot?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question.
Is it real or a myth?
Yeah, I've definitely heard a lot of different things about it.
Yeah.
What does Kerner say?
So he addresses this head on,
Okay.
explaining that the G-spot isn't actually like a separate entity,
Right.
but it's part of that clitoral network we were discussing.
Okay.
It's an area on the front wall of the vagina that's highly sensitive to pressure.
So stimulating the G-spot is still stimulating the clitoris.
Precisely.
Okay.
He even suggests renaming it the clitoral cluster
Interesting.
to better reflect its true nature.
Okay.
And Kerner also debunks some of the more outlandish claims about the G-spot,
Yeah. Okay.
like that it's the sole source of female ejaculation.
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
he does talk about female ejaculation.
Right.
But doesn't present it as something that happens for every woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's very clear that the orgasm reflex is involuntary,
Mm-hmm.
and, trying to force it can actually detract from the experience.
Right.
He's more focused on helping men understand how to create an experience that allows a woman's body to respond naturally
Right.
without pressure or expectation.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've covered anatomy, technique, communication, and even touched on sensitive topics like hygiene and female ejaculation.
We have.
What I'm curious about now is putting it all together.
Okay.
Kerner mentions the substance of style.
Right.
This idea that being a great cunnilingus is about more than just following instructions.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
So it's about bringing your whole self to the experience,
Okay.
being fully present, attuned to your partner.
Right.
Responding to her cues,
Yeah.
Kerner emphasizes the importance of enthusiasm, confidence,
Yeah.
and a genuine desire to give pleasure.
Yeah. And he reminds us that while the play process offers a framework,
Right.
every woman is unique.
Of course.
You know, what works for one may not work for another.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot,
Yeah.
that perfect combination of technique,
Mm-hmm.
rhythm, and connection that creates a truly unforgettable experience.
He's very clear that it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And it's a journey that requires patience,
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
attention,
Mm.
and a willingness to learn and adapt along the way.
And I love that he even provides like a blank template in the book
Oh, that's cool.
for readers to create their own routines.
Yeah.
It's like he's giving you the tools to become your own cunnilingus maestro.
I love that.
But what about those times when things don't go as planned?
Right.
What if she's just not feeling it, or you're feeling anxious
Yeah.
or self-conscious?
Sure.
What does Kerner suggest in those situations?
Well, that's where communication becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
He encourages men to check in with their partners,
Mhm.
ask questions,
Mhm.
be open to feedback.
Yeah.
It's okay to take breaks,
Right.
adjust the pace, or try something different.
Right.
The key is to stay connected.
Yeah.
Keep those lines of communication open.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that pleasure is a collaborative effort.
He even suggests incorporating humor into the experience,
That's great.
which I love.
Yeah.
He compares it to being a jazz trio
Okay.
with the tongue, fingers, and hands all working together
Right.
like instruments to create this amazing musical experience.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It highlights the importance of coordination and improvisation.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Try new things and see what happens.
Now let's get into some of those more advanced techniques.
Okay.
One that caught my eye was the come hither clasp.
Yes.
What makes that technique so effective?
So it involves using your fingers to stimulate the clitoral cluster
Okay.
while simultaneously using your tongue to explore other areas.
Oh, wow.
You're essentially creating a two-pronged attack on pleasure.
Okay.
And Kerner doesn't shy away from getting a little creative.
Oh, really?
He even suggests incorporating anal stimulation into the mix.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Anal stimulation during cunnilingus?
He's quick to point out that it's not about penetration,
Okay.
but rather about gentle stimulation
Right.
and adding another layer of sensation to the experience.
Okay.
He emphasizes the connection between the clitoris and the anus,
Uh-huh.
suggesting that stimulating one can enhance the pleasure of the other.
I'm starting to understand why some people call him the cunnilingus guru.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, I want to touch on something that wasn't directly mentioned in the book,
Okay.
but relates to what we've been talking about.
Sure.
While She Comes First focuses on the man's role.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't a woman understanding her own body just as important?
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Kerner does touch upon this throughout the book,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth emphasizing. Encouraging your partner to explore her own body,
Right.
understand her own pleasure responses,
Mm-hmm.
and communicate her needs and desires
Yeah.
is essential for a truly fulfilling experience for both of you.
So how can we encourage that self-exploration?
Mm-hmm.
Does Kerner offer any advice?
So he talks about the importance of women masturbating,
Okay.
not only to learn about their bodies,
Right.
but also to be able to better communicate what they enjoy to their partner.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about empowerment and taking ownership of your own pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready to hear about more of those advanced techniques.
Okay.
You mentioned anal stimulation earlier.
Right.
What are some of the other techniques that Kerner suggests?
Well, one that always gets a chuckle is the Shakespearean lick.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about rhythm and pacing being so important?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kerner takes it to a whole new level with this technique.
Wait, the Shakespearean lick.
Yeah.
I need to hear more about this.
Okay.
What exactly does that entail?
So it involves using iambic pentameter,
Okay.
the rhythm often found in Shakespeare's poetry,
Wow.
to guide your tongue strokes.
Interesting.
It might sound silly,
Yeah.
but it's a testament to Kerner's creativity
Right.
and his belief that pleasure can be found in unexpected places.
It sounds like he's really encouraging us to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And not be afraid to experiment.
Absolutely.
But I imagine even with all this knowledge and these techniques,
Right.
there can still be challenges.
Sure.
What about those times when a woman might not be comfortable with certain techniques?
Yeah.
Or the man is feeling anxious or self-conscious?
Of course.
How does Kerner address those situations?
So he stresses the importance of sensitivity and communication.
Right.
It's crucial to create a safe and comfortable space for exploration.
No.
And that means being attuned to your partner's verbal and nonverbal cues. If something feels off, don't be afraid to stop, check in, and adjust accordingly.
So it's not about blindly following a script,
Right.
but rather about being present, responsive,
Yeah.
and respectful of each other's boundaries and comfort levels.
Exactly. Kerner provides practical advice for overcoming anxieties,
Okay.
emphasizing clear communication and a focus on shared pleasure.
Right.
He even offers specific tips for men who struggle with premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction,
Wow.
acknowledging that these issues can impact both partners
Yeah.
and offering ways to address them together.
It sounds like he's really covering all the bases,
He does.
ensuring that everyone, regardless of their starting point,
Right.
can feel empowered to create a more fulfilling sexual experience.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that I'm curious about is the concept of multiple orgasms.
Okay.
Is that something that Kerner believes is possible for women?
Absolutely. Kerner is adamant that multiple orgasms are not only possible,
Oh, wow.
but actually quite common for women, especially when they're receiving the right kind of stimulation.
That's interesting. I know there are a lot of misconceptions about female orgasms.
There are.
What does Kerner say about the science behind them?
So he explains that unlike men,
Okay.
women don't have a refractory period,
Right.
meaning they can experience multiple orgasms in a row
Oh, wow.
without needing a break.
Okay.
So once she's had one orgasm,
Hmm.
she's primed for more.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It is.
So how can we help a woman experience these multiple orgasms?
Mm-hmm.
Does Kerner offer any specific techniques?
He provides techniques for navigating the more play phase, that period after orgasm where the goal is to keep the pleasure flowing.
Right.
He emphasizes continuing to stimulate the clitoris even after she's had an orgasm
Okay.
and suggests incorporating different techniques and positions to keep things interesting.
It sounds like it's all about maintaining that connection and finding what works best for each individual woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kerner encourages experimentation and open communication
Mm-hmm.
to discover those sweet spots that lead to those explosive multiple orgasms.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture.
Good.
Well, let's get real for a second.
Okay.
Kerner talks a lot about hygiene
Right.
and encourages men to embrace the unique scent and taste of their partners.
Yeah.
But what about those times when you're just not feeling it?
Sure.
Or what if you're worried about STDs?
Okay.
Those are real concerns that a lot of people have.
Yeah, he acknowledges that these are valid concerns
Okay.
and provides practical advice for navigating them.
Okay.
He encourages open and honest communication with your partner about hygiene and safe sex practices.
So it's about having those open and honest conversations
Exactly.
to ensure everyone feels safe and comfortable.
Exactly. And Kerner even suggests incorporating things like dental dams or latex gloves into the experience.
Wow.
If there are concerns about STDs,
Okay.
he's very clear that safety should never be compromised.
Right.
And he provides tips for making safe sex both pleasurable and fun.
It sounds like he's really striking that balance
Yeah.
between passion and responsibility, ensuring that pleasure and safety go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting that while Kerner primarily focuses on heterosexual couples,
Right.
he acknowledges that the techniques and principles he shares
Yeah,
can be applied to same-sex relationships as well.
that's great to hear.
Yeah,
It's all about inclusivity and ensuring that everyone can benefit from this knowledge.
exactly. Kerner is all about breaking down barriers
Mm-hmm.
and promoting a more open and inclusive understanding of sexuality.
Okay.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to touch on some of the more philosophical aspects of cunnilingus that Kerner explores.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What kind of philosophical insights does he offer?
So he draws on a wide range of sources,
Okay.
from ancient Taoist texts to modern sex research,
Wow.
to create a truly holistic understanding of this ancient art.
Okay.
He even quotes Napoleon.
Oh, really?
Did you know Napoleon was a huge fan of cunnilingus?
I did not.
He wrote passionate letters to Josephine about her cassolette,
Okay.
which is a fancy French word for her unique scent.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how Kerner weaves together history,
Right.
literature,
Mhm.
and science
Yeah.
to create this rich tapestry of insights into female pleasure.
And one of the key themes that emerges from this tapestry
Okay.
is this idea that cunnilingus is about more than just physical gratification.
Right.
It's about connection, intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
and a deep appreciation for the beauty and power of the female body.
It sounds like he's elevating cunnilingus to something truly special and meaningful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kerner even goes so far as to suggest that cunnilingus can be a transformative experience,
Really?
not just for the woman receiving it,
Mm-hmm.
but for the man giving it as well.
How so?
So he talks about how it can help men overcome their own anxieties and insecurities
Okay.
and allow them to experience a deeper level of intimacy and connection with their partners.
It sounds like it's about shifting away from a performance-based mindset
Right.
and embracing the vulnerability and intimacy of the experience.
Precisely. It's about connecting on a deeper level,
Yeah.
both physically and
All
emotionally.
right.
And speaking of meaningful experiences, Kerner shares this really thought-provoking quote
Okay.
from Milan Kundera's novel,
Okay.
The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Oh, I love Kundera.
Right.
What's the quote?
So it's about this idea that we can't live every moment
Okay.
as if it were eternally indelible,
Right.
but we can make love that way.
Mm.
We can kiss our beloved, knowing that we want that kiss to ripple and undulate for all eternity.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the power of intimacy and connection to create something truly timeless and transcendent.
And I think that's what makes Kerner's book so special.
Yeah.
It's not just a guide to technique.
Right.
It's an exploration of the deeper meaning of sexual intimacy and a celebration of the power of cunnilingus to create a truly transformative experience for both partners.
It sounds like a must-read for anyone looking to deepen their understanding of female pleasure and create more fulfilling sexual experiences.
Absolutely.
It really sounds like Kerner is encouraging us to approach cunnilingus with the same reverence and intention that we would bring to like creating a work of art.
Yeah. It's a beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's about taking the time to appreciate the beauty and complexity of the female body and to create an experience that's both pleasurable and meaningful.
Now, for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all this information,
Right.
I know Kerner provides a series of routines in the book,
He does.
from beginner to advanced.
Yeah, these routines demonstrate how to put all these techniques together
Okay.
into a seamless flow.
Right.
They're not meant to be followed rigidly,
Okay.
but rather to serve as inspiration and guidance. You know, they show how the different stages of the play process can be woven together to create a truly immersive and satisfying experience.
And he even includes a blank template so you can create your own routines.
I love that.
It's like he's giving you the tools to become your own cunnilingus DJ,
Yes.
mixing and matching different techniques to create a personalized playlist of pleasure.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's all about finding what works best for you and your partner.
Yeah.
And Kerner encourages experimentation and open communication to discover those perfect combinations.
Speaking of experimentation, Kerner also provides some helpful advice
Right.
for incorporating toys into the experience.
He does.
He talks about using vibrators
Uh-huh.
to enhance sensation and create different kinds of stimulation.
He's very clear that toys aren't meant to replace the tongue or the fingers,
Right.
but rather to complement them.
Okay.
And he offers specific suggestions for how to use vibrators in conjunction with other techniques
Right.
to create a truly multisensory experience.
He even suggests trying a strap-on dildo that attaches to the chin.
The accommodator.
Yeah, it's called the accommodator.
Yeah.
And it basically lets you give her head while simultaneously stimulating her with a dildo.
Right.
I know it sounds a little wild, but hey, it's all about exploring different options.
It is, and I think it speaks to Kerner's sense of humor
Yeah.
and his willingness to push boundaries.
Right.
He wants us to bring a playful and adventurous spirit to the bedroom.
Now let's talk about some of the more unique scenarios that Kerner addresses.
Okay.
For example, he has a whole section dedicated to the Scarlet Kiss,
Right.
which is all about giving her head during her period.
He's very clear that menstruation doesn't have to be a barrier to intimacy,
Right.
and he provides practical advice for making the experience both pleasurable and hygienic. He even suggests using a tampon to create a barrier and allow for more direct stimulation of the clitoris.
He also offers guidance for men who are new to cunnilingus, as well as those who are navigating the unique challenges and opportunities of pregnancy.
He's all about inclusivity
Right.
and making sure that everyone, regardless of their experience level or circumstances, can enjoy the pleasures of cunnilingus.
So what does this all mean?
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways from our deep dive into She Comes First?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that cunnilingus is a powerful and transformative act that can revolutionize a couple's sex life.
Okay.
It's not just about technique, it's about mindset,
Right.
communication, and a deep appreciation for the beauty and power of the female body.
Kerner encourages us to approach cunnilingus with the same reverence and intention
Yeah.
that we would bring to creating a work of art,
Absolutely.
and to embrace the journey of exploration and discovery that it offers.
He reminds us that every woman is unique,
Right,
and what works for one might not work for another.
right. It's about finding those sweet spots,
It is.
those perfect combinations of technique, rhythm, and connection that create a truly unforgettable experience.
And he gives us the tools and knowledge to become better lovers,
Yeah.
to overcome our anxieties, and to create a sexual experience that's both pleasurable and meaningful for both partners.
Absolutely. One final thought that I think builds upon everything we've discussed
Okay.
is the importance of self-exploration for women.
Yes.
Encouraging your partner to explore her own body,
Right.
understand her own pleasure responses, and communicate her needs and desires is essential for creating a truly fulfilling sexual experience for both of you.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the importance of open communication
Mm-hmm.
and a shared commitment to exploration and discovery in any sexual relationship.
Exactly. She Comes First is a fantastic starting point.
It is.
But the journey doesn't end there.
Right.
It's about continuing to learn, grow, and connect on a deeper level,
Yeah.
both physically and emotionally.
Absolutely.
So there you have it, folks, our deep dive into She Comes First by Ian Kerner.
That was fun.
We hope this episode has given you some food for thought and maybe even inspired you to try some new things in the bedroom.
I hope so.
Remember, communication is key.
Yes.
Experimentation is encouraged.
Always.
And pleasure is a collaborative effort. So go out there,
Have fun.
explore, have fun, and always remember she comes first.